Hey everyone, this is Jaden Haidar, aka Spidey 101, and I'm here today to talk about my final speculations for the Miss Marvel TV show. Now, if you guys have seen my previous videos, you should know my entire journey with this show. You should know my feelings on why Kamala Khan as a character and her stories and her mythos means the world to me. And, my initial thoughts on the show and me reneging on my suspicions yesterday in that video. And I don't need to go over that again. If you need to hear what I have to say about it, I suggest that you go watch my previous videos. But right now, I'm here to talk about my final speculations in terms of what could be happening with the show. Now, as we all know, the show comes out tomorrow, mañana. And I will be talking about the show, I will be reviewing it, I will be doing reactions to it. And it will be a fun time, hopefully. But I'm kind of going into this show blind, because I have no idea. Because I was so against the show, I kind of turned it off in my brain. I didn't listen to any speculations. I didn't listen to any plot synopses or anything like that. I don't even know who's going to be the villain in this season. I don't know anything. All I've seen is the first trailer and 2 TV spots. That's really it. And 2 clips. But that's it. I don't know a lot about this show. And that's something that I'm honestly kind of happy worked out in my favor, because I want to go into this blind. I mean, it's kind of funny how the universe turned me around on the show mere days before it would come out. But I had serious doubts about this show, very serious doubts, because of the power change, because of my girl Kamala being used as a pawn for the Marvels in that horrifically bad looking suit. Did you see that suit that she's gonna be wearing in the Marvels? Trash, garbage, absolute poo-poo that suit is. But there's nothing we could do about that now. So, yeah. You really could have just put the Storm Ranger suit in there, and nobody would bat an eye, even though that comes with an entire story arc in itself. So you probably wouldn't be able to do that in that movie. Anyway, this is not about the Marvels. This is about Miss Marvel, Season 1. And I'm here today to do my final speculations on it. So, actually, one final thing. No matter what, I am excited for this show. As someone who has read all the comics, who has all the comics as of now, insert picture here. As someone who has watched things like Marvel Rising and has always loved her character, as someone who has played the Avengers video game only because they wanted to play as Kamala Khan, I am optimistic about this show, as I've wanted to be for so long. But because Marvel Studios, of course, I've been hesitant. But with it coming out tomorrow, I am excited. I'm not gonna lie to you. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. So my first point is Kamala as a character. Now, Kamala is a character, like I've said in numerous videos, that goes through a whole lot of arcs in her journey. She goes through an arc of self-acceptance. She goes through an arc of self-perseverance and not giving up. She goes through, fatigue. She sometimes wonders, especially when Kareem slash Red Dagger comes into the picture, and they originally meet when Kamala like goes out of town, when she like needs a break from all the Civil War II stuff that went down. And she meets him, and everything goes well there, but then he comes over to Jersey City, and in that infamous train scene where they're trying to like stop the train from like crashing and everything, after that she just like gets like super fatigued and just like gives up. And she has to learn from her friends and everything not to give up. And it's like it's such a great story. But she goes through like being the hero, the literal hero of Jersey City. It's she goes through so many arcs and so many journeys as a character. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know if most of that stuff is going to make... I hope it does, because again, the original creators are involved with this show. So that gives me hope that those arcs would be present. But again, I'm not sure. I don't really know that much about this show, so I don't really know about it in that regard. But when it comes to Kamal as a character, I want her to be hopeful, right? I want her to be that ray of optimism, but at the same time, I want her to have those internal struggles of fitting into her ecosystem of high school and everything. I want her to have that feeling of being out of body like she did in the comics, where she has to overcome it and learn to be confident in herself and what she can offer to the world and to Jersey City, her home. And that is something I think is like the most important part. Because yes, Kamala is a fangirl of the Avengers. She's a fangirl of Captain Marvel. She's a fangirl of superheroes in general, and she loves that stuff. But that's not like the core of her character. That is an aspect of her character, but that is not the core of her character. The core of her character is learning to embrace who she is and really transcending everything she thought she could be, and becoming the true hero of Jersey City that that they need, and that she needs in a way, because it really teaches her about responsibility and looking out for other people and not being selfish and everything like that. So I think that is the most important thing, and I think that should be that foundation should be the strongest in the show, in my eyes. But and I think Iman Vellani can pull it off, because not only is she the real life Kamala Khan, from her story to how her mannerisms are when it comes to like interviews, and how she talks about Marvel and superheroes and everything like that. Not only is I could tell she's just a great person, and I'm happy that she got the opportunity to play my girl Kamala and to get basically the role of a lifetime, and the role that I think, like, I genuinely think like she'll be up there with like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in terms of being definitive, because literally, like, after seeing her like in interviews and clips and things, like, that's my girl Kamala. That's her. But also I'm so proud of her, because I have my feelings about Feige. You know that. Everybody that knows me knows that I have my issues with Feige. And one of my biggest issues with him is that he keeps saying He keeps trying to make his universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Earth 616. I'm like, no. Earth 616 is the comic universe. No matter how many times you try to snuff it out, Feige, 616 will always be the comic universe. And Iman thought that too, because she called him out. She was like, no, you're wrong, Feige. Earth, MCU is Earth 1999999, and the comic universe is Earth 616, the main Marvel universe. I'm like, yes! Call him out, Iman. Call him out. I love this girl. But yeah, she will be great as this character. I have no doubts in my mind. And from the beginning, I have always said that she was not a part of my issues with the show. Matter of fact, I said, probably, because I'm saying it off of memory here, but from what I recall, I said that she would do the best job that she could with the material that she was given, and she would be definitive as the character, or she would be great as the character. And I think that I'm gonna end up being right, and I'm happy about that, because I would love for the first ever iteration of Kamal Khan in live action to be definitive and to be great. And I trust Iman with my girl Kamala. So yeah, moving on from that, my second point is Kamala's family and friends. Now this is the most important thing, because Kamala's family and friends are really important. Abu and Ami should be not at the center of Kamala's world, but like they should be like the overseers, if that makes sense. Because like in the comics, like they're both like very strict on Kamala. Like they barely let her go out to parties, they barely let her hang out with friends, they don't let her out after dark, they don't let her do anything really. Like they're very strict, and over time in the comics, like they have to learn to let Kamala do her own thing and to trust that she knows what she's doing. And that arc in the comics was so endearing, because you went on this journey with these characters. You went and you've seen everything that they've went through and everything that they've gone through. And by the end, it just feels so fulfilling, because you're like, by the end, like after I read every single Kamal Khan comic, I felt like I was at the end of a TV show. Even though it's not over, because there are still comics coming out. As a matter of fact, I believe there's one coming out next month and one in October. I know, because I have those pre-ordered. But still, it was so fulfilling being on that journey and seeing them grow and develop. And I want her parents to grow and develop. I don't want her to be just the basic stereotypical sitcom parents that are like, oh, you can do whatever you want and everything, like, because like I'd say like with this, like from what I've heard, and I don't listen to people talk about stuff anymore because, you know, I just don't, but from what I have heard from an outsider looking in terms of people talking about this show, they say that it screams Disney Channel. And this is something that I love so much. Not only as a fan of the Disney Channel, but also because that means that with this show, they're focusing less on big action and spectacle and more on the interpersonal relationships in like high school and home life and everything. Because at the core, that's what I love about the Disney Channel. There are so many endearing shows and movies that come out from the Disney Channel all the time about those exact things. And that shows me that they're going to have an emphasis on that. And also it's going to have like the feel-good tone that like Disney Channel shows and movies have, which I love. And I love the fact, because I mentioned it before, not on YouTube, but like in my life. that I wanted this show, like I wanted like Kamala Khan to have like the Big Hero 6 treatment, where like Disney takes Miss Marvel and the lore and everything, and they make it into a movie and then turn it into a show afterwards, like the Big Hero 6 route. And they focus less on like world building and things like that, and focus more on those dynamics, those bonds, those relationships between Kamala and her parents, between Kamala and her family and friends. And I think that that would be the most important thing, because I feel like Miss Marvel would have the perfect feel if it had like that Big Hero 6 type treatment, you know? But we're not, you know. It's gonna be a Marvel Studios thing, which, you know, whatever. But I hope that it has that feel. And in terms of, you know, I hope that her parents are not dumbed down. I hope that they are as dynamic as they were in the comics, with just a little bit more personality as well. Even though they had a lot of personality in the comics, but yeah, as well as her brother too. As a matter of fact, her brother needs to be like as important as her friends, because I saw that not only her brother's there, but also Taisha, who is her brother's fiance. And I got happy at that, because those two had such a great bond in the comics, and they were so, like, it was so feel good just watching them like interact with each other and do all that. Like, it was so endearing, and I hope that the show can have the same feel. And then when it comes to her friends, this is the most important thing, because her friends are really important when it comes to her story. Bruno is the most important, because, you know, those two are in love, and we need, not only are they best friends, but they're in love with each other. But, you know, it's like they both of them know it, but they don't, you know. Like, that's one of the interesting things that they go through in the comics, is that they love each other in a large amount of ways, but it's like at the same time, it's like there's so many trials and tribulations when it comes to their relationship that, you know, they don't really get to have those moments. That's why when they do have those moments, like at the end of the Battle World Secret Wars comic, where they're about to like fade away into nothing, and they have that talk on the roof, it's even more impactful. You know, so yeah. And even in the Storm Ranger arc, where, you know, they shared their first ever kiss, you know, that makes that even more impactful, because, you know, they don't usually get to have those moments, so when they do, it's even more impactful. So I want their dynamic in this show to be three-dimensional. I don't want Bruno to just be like that guy that we see like only like 5 minutes in the episode and be like, oh hey Kamala, you know, I'm here to be your emotional support and all that. No, because Bruno is his own character that goes through his own arcs as well. I'm not going to spoil it for those who haven't read the comics, but still, like, he goes through his own stuff, and he's not just Kamala's, like, talking piece. Same thing with Nakia. Nakia needs to be influential in her life as well. They need to have that bond, because Nakia is very much so the activist type. She is, like, she stands up for what she believes in, and I feel like that could be an interesting thing for the show to tackle, just like the comics did, and they did so well. So I hope they do that with the show. I don't think they're gonna introduce Mike, aka Michaela, because that would be too early. And for those that don't know who Mike/Michaela is, Mike/Michaela is Bruno's second love. Because when Kamala is basically like, oh, you know, I love you, Bruno, but I cannot be with you right now because of her commitments as Miss Marvel and being an Avenger and all that. So, you know, he meets Mike, aka Michaela, and they start getting along, and that becomes a whole thing. So, you know, I don't think they're gonna do that, nor do I think they should do that yet. You know, that's something you focus on maybe around season 3. But right now should be like the building of Kamala's main arc as a character, as well as everybody else's arcs. And in terms of Zoe is a whole nother ballpark. She's probably the most complex character when it comes to Kamala's friend circle, because after the whole Secret Wars Battle World thing happened, or you know, not even after, before it happened, and you know, it was basically like the end of the world and everything, she goes through this whole change. You know, she realized that, you know, she's basically been like the jerky, like, cheerleader type, even though she's not a cheerleader, but you know, she's acting like a jockey cheerleader type. And you know, she realizes like she was being so rude and at many points very racist towards Kamala. And you know, she apologizes. She says that, you know, she was, you know, it was a dark time for her. You know, she was going through a lot of rough patches and everything. And Kamal's taken back by it because he's like, wait a minute, Zoe's apologizing to me. What's going on? And after the Secret Wars Battle Worlds situation, she like gets very open. Like, her character completely changes. She gets very open, and she leaves Josh, which I don't know if Josh is going to be in this show. I mean, they haven't showed Josh at all in any of the trailers or anything like that, so hopefully Josh is in the show. But she leaves Josh, and she decides, you know what, I'm into girls. And so yeah, she becomes gay, LGBT, and for a time, like, she like is like into Nakia, but then that doesn't work out because Nakia's not really interested in her as like that. You know, and then after that they become really good friends. The point is, her arc is very complex, and so you need to handle Zoe very carefully. Because if you dumb her down, you could run the risk of potentially destroying a very complex character just because audiences can't handle it, you know? And that's the worst case scenario. So when it comes to all of her friends and family, I really hope they maintain around the same arcs that they do in the comics. Again, I am not completely against changes. You can have them go through different character arcs and things, but as long as their arcs are still in spirit tied to their arcs in the comics, then we should be fine. The next one I have here is Kareem, aka Red Dagger, and Cameron. Now, the confusion that I have with these two is immeasurable, because I genuinely have no idea what either of them are doing in season 1 of this show. First things first, because the Inhumans tie is no longer there, which again, points will be deducted for that. What is Cameron's role gonna be? Because his whole arc as a character in the comics is the idea that he believes that he is above all humans, that Inhumans are above all humans, and he wants to revolt and he wants the inhuman race to be on the top, which is why he joins Lineage and becomes like one of Lineage's henchmen. So now that that's no longer there, to my knowledge, there's no Lineage. To my knowledge, there's no any of that. What is his role in this show? Is he just going to be like, is he just gonna be Kamala's love interest? Which shouldn't be, because honestly, well, I mean, I can see if you want to play the long game when it comes to Kamala and Bruno, because that's exactly what they did in the comics, but still, like, I feel like that would be kind of a disservice to his character if you just had him there as her love interest. That would be a bit weird. And speaking of having him there and being like, what is he doing here? Kareem! Red Dagger. Now, Kareem doesn't come in until like after the Civil War II days, where Kamala just goes through the ringer in terms of trying to help Carol with her time cop endeavor, and realizing that her time cop endeavor is kind of crazy, so she goes against it. And because long story short, because one of the people that they captured was Josh, and he was basically put in there wrongly, and Kamala's friends go in there to protest him being in there, and they want him out. And you know, Bruno is basically like, you know what, if Kamala's not going to get him out, I'm going to break him out. And so he creates like a thing that's supposed to like open doors, like basically like hack into the locks and break in. Turns out it detonates and explodes, and you know, Bruno gets fatally injured, and he goes to the hospital, and he loses function in his arm and everything. And Kamala's like, that's it, I'm done. And she goes against the main head of Carol's team, which creates a new villain in Kamala's rogues gallery. And Kamala further splits away from Carol from that point on, and she meets up with Tony Stark and tells her, hey, you know, and tells him, hey, you know, this is a pretty screwed situation. And so she goes back to the hospital, and Bruno wakes up, and she's happy. She's like, hey, Bruno, you're awake. But then Bruno's like, no. I'm done with you. I'm going over to Wakanda, and I am just going away. Because the whole thing is like, because Bruno technically committed an act of quote-unquote terrorism with the explosive, you know, colleges in New Jersey wouldn't want to take him because he has like that in his like record now. So his reputation is pretty much like destroyed at that point. So he's like, I'm going to Wakanda and I'm going to attend college there. And he's like really mad at Kamal because she did not listen to him. And so, you know, they split ways, and Kamala decides, you know what, I'm going out of town and I'm just getting away from everything. And so she goes over to hang out with some family. I forget where the place was, but she goes over to hang out with some family, you know, with her grandparents and everything. And that's where she bumps into Kareem. All that to say. And, you know, they form a bond, they form a friendship, and they start going on patrols even though they don't know, hey, you're Kareem, hey, you're Kamala. They don't know that. And then she comes out with that cool looking costume that she wore over there, which is pretty cool. And then they meet up again when Kareem comes to Jersey, and they stop that train, And then while they're hanging out on the train trying to figure out how to stop it, because it's going at like lightning speed, they start to get to know each other and everything. And all that to say, they have a really dynamic bond that is like built up through numerous comics and things. So what is he doing here? What is he doing here so early? Like, Kamala has not went through any of this fatigue, has not went through any of these arcs yet, has not went through any of this yet. What is Kareem doing here? What is Cameron doing here? That is the big question. And that is something that I really cannot answer because I don't know. Like, from one of the trailers that I saw, it looks like Kamala is going to be going, like, over to where Kareem is. But again, don't know why. So it'll be an interesting thing to figure out. The next point I have here is, who the heck is the villain? Now, this is something that they haven't showed in the trailers at all. Now, if I were to answer this question, my answer would be the Inventor. Because the Inventor is the first villain that Kamala ever fought. And the Inventor had like a whole bunch of technology and lackeys that he manipulated, and he would take people and abduct people and use them and use their life force for his machines. And so I feel like because there are certain bits of technology that were shown off in some of the trailers, I feel like, and some like weird henchmen that are like carrying like weird looking weapons and things like that, I feel like the villain of this could very well be the Inventor, which I hope it is. Next one is the bracelet in the comics compared to the bracelet in the show. Now, the bracelet in the comics is... The bracelet from the comics has an endearing story because it's like passed down from Omni's mother to Omni. And it's basically a sign to where when she wears it, she's like, oh, you know, so you never forget your family and where you came from. And, you know, it's a nice story. And Omni passes it down to Kamala, and Kamala wears it. And, you know, it's so that she never forgets where she comes from. She never forgets her family, her heritage, everything. And of course it becomes a staple part of her costume and what she wears on a daily basis. And you know, it's just a sign of her culture. But I feel like there was a part, even though the original creators were involved, I recognize that, it feels like there was a part of this where they just looked, whoever it is at Marvel Studios, and then just looked at the fact that she was wearing a bracelet and was like, that must be where her powers come from. Because I'm like, her powers do not come from her bracelet. Even casual Kamal Khan fans know that. So I don't know what that is. Like, even though it feels like it has the same type of idea as the comics, they're focusing way too much on it. Now, I heard speculation yesterday that with that little gem thing that's on the bracelet, or that little aura that comes from it, that could be like, maybe like it breaks or something, and that's where like the Terrigenesis comes from, to where like that's where she gets her real powers. And I'm not, you know, I'm not opposed to that idea, because even though like the Inhuman show exists, and Black Bolt himself from that show was in Doctor Strange 2. So they're acknowledging Inhumans exist. Even though all this reigns true, if you don't want to acknowledge the Inhumans, because we recognize that show is not good, but the casting is good. So if you're going to keep anything from that show, you better keep the casting, because that casting for all the characters was great. It's just the show wasn't good. But I just feel as though, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go about it that way. It wouldn't be a bad idea, because even though I would want her so bad to be an Inhuman, even then, I don't even know if they could do things like her having Lockjaw as a pet, or having that having those interactions with Medusa and things like that. I don't know if they'd be able to do that if they go about it that way, but who knows? They could just explain it away, whatever. But that's the difference, and it's pretty fundamental. But hey, what are you gonna do? The next point I have here is, will Jersey City be a character in the show like it is in the comics? And this is very important as well, because like I've said in previous videos, Jersey City, just like New York City is a character in Spider-Man, Jersey City is a character for Kamal Khan and Miss Marvel's mythos, because it's the place where she lives. It's the place where she was born and raised and has sworn to protect and everything, and wants to protect, and that's her home. And I want Jersey City to be an active character, and I was really happy to hear that, and they must have done this in the reshoots, but I was really happy to hear that they finally was like, you know what? Kamal Khan is a New Jersey character. Let's actually go to New Jersey and film stuff there. Because before, when I filmed that video back in 2021, I was shocked that they did not film anything in Jersey City. But then when I read it, and that's why I'm like, because there was only one article about it and it came out in 2022, so it must have been due to the reshoots. But I was happy because I was like, yes, they're filming in Jersey City. Someone finally came to their senses. So, then with them filming in Jersey City, hopefully that authenticity is there. Because as someone who lives in Jersey City, who has been born and raised in Jersey City, I know what Jersey City looks like. Every nook, cranny, avenue, boulevard, every single aspect. So I can tell the difference. And I will make it known in my reactions and my reviews. So yeah, hopefully that aspect of it is genuine and is authentic, because Jersey City is a very important part of Miss Marvel and Kamala Khan as a character, so it should be treated as such, and is important for Jersey City residents like me, who feel represented in that way. So yeah. The next point that I have here is kind of a personal question, and that is, why does Circle Q blow up? Now, Circle Q has been through a lot of stuff in the comics, but to my knowledge, I might be forgetting, it has never blown up. Now, this is not like Delmar's shop in the Homecoming series, where you could just blow it up and nobody will have any issues. No, this is Circle Q. This is like the main headquarters of Kamala and Bruno and Nakia, and even Zoe and Josh and Mike. Like, everybody hangs out there. Even Bruno's brother hangs out there. Like, everybody hangs out there. Like, that is their main headquarters, and that is a main location in the comics. It's like Circle Q is in every single comic. So the fact that it blows up here, and it looks like a straight up copycat of like when Delmar's shop blew up in Homecoming. That kind of worries me because it's like a neglect of something that's really important to the mythos. And I don't know when that happens in the show. I don't know why that happens. But all I know is that it happens and it does not feel right. So hopefully that whatever reason that happened is not permanent. Then the next question here is not related to the well, it is related to the show in a way, but what will the future be for Kamala after this season? And besides the obvious stuff in terms of, her showing up in the Marvels in that terrible garbage outfit, I don't know, again, because I don't know where she's going to end up at the end of this season. I don't know where she's going to be in the Marvels. But what I can say, in terms of what I hope her future is going to be, is that I hope her future is like her going more and more towards being the hero that Jersey City needs. Because Jersey City doesn't have a hero in the comics before Kamala. They don't have that figure that could be like a beacon of hope or a beacon of light in what many perceive as, sometimes the darkness of Jersey City, Jersey City, as much as I love this place, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and they don't treat it that way in the comics either. But when Kamala comes in, she becomes the beacon of hope and light. She becomes a symbol of what Jersey City can be and how much of a place of hope and optimism Jersey City can be. And that was just so uplifting in the comics, and it can be uplifting in the MCU as well. They just need to handle it in the right way. And throughout the journey of her character and the journey of this show progressing, these arcs can be further built upon and further explored with time. And I hope that they give the show that amount of time to really delve into that stuff. That's what I hope for. That's what I hope for in terms of the future. I don't know what her deal is going to be in the Marvels. I don't know. But I just hope that whatever it is furthers her character arc and doesn't do what the Avengers movies did to Spider-Man, which is make her arc inconsistent. And then, this is the most important question for me. Will there be a season 2 or following seasons? Now, as much as I am excited about this show, as someone who knows the full potential of what this story can be, Marvel Studios has a problem with their TV shows. And that is that they don't know which ones to continue and which ones to stop. Now, I've mentioned this in the previous video, but the fact that shows like Loki and What If, shows that should be series that last only one season, that should be an anthology, are going on for multiple seasons. But shows like Moon Knight, shows like Hawkeye, shows like Falcon and Winter Soldier to a degree, even WandaVision are capped at one season. It makes no sense to me, because those four shows that I just mentioned should be ongoing shows. They shouldn't be one-offs. They should be ongoing shows that furthers the arcs and developments of these characters, so that when they show up in the movies, people that watch the show don't have to rely on the movies to further their arcs, because the movies should be about the characters that those movies are about, not having to further another character's arc that comes from somewhere else. That just makes no sense. Could you imagine if Daredevil ended at one season and had to continue his arc in Jessica Jones? Like, it would make no sense at all. So they need to fix this problem. But with Kamala Khan, with my girl Kamala's show, this show needs, especially if the show is great, this show needs to be multiple seasons. It cannot be a limited series, because this show and the story of Kamala Khan and her friends and her family and even her villains deserve multiple seasons worth the arcs, multiple seasons worth the character development, multiple seasons worth the immersion into their lives and their stories. Like this you can't do a show about Kamala Khan and only have it be one season. It's just impossible. There's no way. You can't have this show be one season and then rely on other movies to complete her. No, that would be stupid. No. You can't do that. You have to have it be multiple seasons, because with the amount of potential that Kamala Khan's story has to be put into a show, you have every ample opportunity to highlight all of the great things that the comics have done in this show. And you cannot do that in one season. You can't. Trust me, as someone who has read the comics, I know you cannot. So yeah, don't even try it. Marvel Studios, Feige, don't even try making this one season. Don't even try it. Because if you don't make follow-up seasons, I will. More emphasis on that later on. And that would be, well, I have one more point, but it's kind of redundant. The possibility of MCU Kamala getting her real powers. And that was kind of what we were talking about in terms of the bracelet, because of the speculation that I heard about the bracelet kind of paving the way for the Terrigenesis. So I feel like they could make that work, but I'm just like, at this point, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. exists, the Inhumans show exists, and both of those shows have highlighted the existence of Inhumans in the MCU for years. So literally, Feige, just suck up your pride, put away your pride, and just make her an Inhuman. Just bring in Medusa, bring in Lockjaw. You don't have to acknowledge the show. But you have the perfect castings. You have the iterations of the characters that already exist that you can use. So by all means, just do it. But anyway, that is all for my final speculations and things for the show. And this is a long video, definitely longer than I expected it to be. But, you know, I had a lot to say, and I have a lot of expectations in terms of what this show can do and what it can be for Kamala and her entire mythos and everything. And I have faith that just like Multiverse of Madness did my girl America copious amounts of justice, the same can be done for Kamala. I believe that 100%. And yeah. And also, little announcement here. If the show does not get renewed for a second season, I will definitely be making my own follow-up seasons. And this is not the only one I'm doing it for. I'm doing a revamp of the Homecoming series. I'm doing a continuation for the Miss Marvel show. But I'm waiting to see it so that I can actually work my magic. And then I've been working on my dream America Chavez series for a long time. That one I've kind of reached a dead end on, so I'm kind of waiting on it. But I'm still working on that. But I'm working on all three of those, and because they are my big three, those are the biggest fan projects that I'm working on right now. Because they're my big three, and I love them, and I want to do that for them because I'm a fan. That's what I do. So yeah, looking forward to tomorrow. Hopefully the first episode, hopefully the entire season delivers, and hopefully it is a love letter to Kamala Khan and everything that she stands for and everything that she is and everything that her mythos is. So yeah, see you tomorrow. I am Jaden Haidara, aka Spideyfan 101, saying peace. See you mañana.